friends, welcome back to Room 237, and I have another Umberto Lenzi Giallo review, and this is the second collaboration from the Lenzi Baker Giallo collection, 1969's So Sweet, So Perverse, which actually, and I forgot to show this, along with the box set, it comes with, I have to cover it because of the nudity, but this sort of mock 1960s pop culture magazine, which is essentially a comic version of So Sweet, So Perverse. I always thought that was kind of cool. And I believe it goes with the Italian, like the Italian script, because there's some lines in the final scene that I don't remember being in the version I watched, which was the English track. But quick story about So Sweet, So Perverse. Now, when I was acquiring all these gialli for that 5-month marathon I did, I happened to randomly come across this, Kiss Me, Kill Me, for $5. It said Umberto Lenzi, directed by Umberto Lenzi. So I thought, okay, that's got to be something. Then upon doing a little bit of research after I bought it, I guess an alternate title in some areas for So Sweet, So Perverse is Kiss Me, Kill Me. So that's what I thought I had. I thought I had So Sweet, So Perverse, so I took it off my list. Coming to find out, there's another film from, I think, 73, I could be wrong, called Baba Yaga, which also has Carol Baker and Erica Blanc, which goes by the alternate title, Kiss Me, Kill Me. Only that is not directed by Umberto Lenzi and has other cast members such as Isabel De Funes and George Eastman from Anthropophagus. And it seems to mix both casts in this, and this is Baba Yaga. It's a very cheap bootleg, which I guess has been put out. I mean, you can find this on eBay, but... So I have a very cheap version of Baba Yaga, and I thought it was So Sweet, So Perverse. So it was released in 1969 in Italy, and then in France in 71. It's a co-production between Italy, France, and West Germany, because I know West Germany was involved in the production of quite a number of gialli at that time. Also stars Jean-Louis Trintignant. I always forget how to pronounce that name. He was also in Deadly Sweet and Death Laid an Egg. I think this is the most conservatively made. I would say it's as stylish as Orgasmo, but slightly different. It's more conservatively shot. I mean, there are some camera tricks in it, but yeah, I liked this more than Death Laid an Egg. That was pretty wacky, I guess I can say. And Deadly Sweet was definitely stylish in a very art house student film kind of way, but I did like Deadly Sweet. And also stars Horst Frank from Eye in the Labyrinth, and we get a brief appearance by Beryl Cunningham, who was in The Weekend Murders, which I still need to see. Music by Ritz Ortolani, which this is the second movie in the set that comes with the score. And it has an original song called Why, which was also featured in Seven Bloodstained Orchids, directed by Lenzi. It plays throughout several points in the film, and the lyrics kind of go with what we're seeing or the direction the film is going in. And every time it came up, you know, the song's like, why? I always thought it was going to be, you know, the Elvis song, like, wise man, can't help falling in love. That's where my brain always went. I'm really going to mess this name up. Guglielmo Mancorri did cinematography, and he worked on other films like Spasmo, Uh, Many of these are in their uh, Manhattan Baby. Definitely better cinematography in this than at Manhattan Baby. And it was written by Ernesto Gastaldi, who is my favorite Giallo writer. I mean, he's written a ton of them. He's probably the most prolific. I know he wrote, I think, all of Sergio Martino's Gialli. And this one really shows, because if there's one thing about Gastaldi is that his writing is so good and so strong that even if something seems obvious, he is able to get you thinking in the other direction, just with what's there, what's happening, and what's being said. So this is another strong script by him. And he also produced it with his brother, Luciano Martino. I guess it's like a semi remake, or somewhat based on the French work Les Diaboliques. And the thing I've heard about the title is a lot of people say, for a title like So Sweet, So Perverse, it feels like a pretty conservative film, other than some of the nudity, maybe like the stripper scene during the cocktail party. I don't think it necessarily means perverse as in we're gonna see a lot of messed up things happening, at least not like what would come later. I think it just means the perversions of Carol Baker's character. I mean, it does show that she has suffered abuse from her domineering ex-boyfriend, Klaus, played by Horst Frank, but she's also excited by that kind of, that sort of violent attention. And she gets excited by, doing wrongdoings. And then just leading up to everything else at the end, and everything she does and goes through, but she's very sweet and innocent looking. So even though it has kind of a risque title, it does make sense. It's not like it's called So Sweet, So Perverse, but New York Ripper is way more worse than that. I don't think that's what it's going for. So, in the movie itself, okay, so Trintignant plays a guy named Jean, who's some industrialist who's married to Danielle, played by Erica Blanc, but they have a very, stalemate marriage, where she seems to know that he has a bunch of mistresses. The film opens up, actually. It opens up like many Gialli, with just him driving, the opening credits with him driving through Paris, kind of showing us the locations. He gets to this one party where he's doing skeet shooting, and he has sex with a woman named Helena, who is the wife of, I don't know if it's his boss or just a very close colleague by the name of Valmont. And I would say they're nobody characters, but they do slightly come up later. And then he goes home, see Danielle, and she's very cold towards him, which, yes, he's cheating on her, but he does ask her at several times, like, what's come between us, what's happened to us, is it my fault? And she's just very cold. They have this very loveless marriage, and even come out and say it multiple times, we no longer love each other. Which, why would anyone cheat on their wife when they're married to Erica Blanc? I have no idea. And then he happens to see this mysterious but very beautiful woman named Nicole, played by Carol Baker, who lives in the penthouse up above him. She drops some jewelry trinket in the elevator, and he kind of obsesses over wanting to give it back to her. She's always on his mind. She hears some scuffle and some screaming up above, and he wants to help. At one point, he's able to get into her apartment, and she's a crying, shaken mess. He wants to help, and we find out that Horst Frank, Klaus, her ex-boyfriend, I guess, was very abusive to her, even, you know, to the point of sexual abuse. And we do get a very stylized flashback, which is covered up again, what this scene on the beach is, where, you know, there's a point where after she's been raped by him, where she's running away from him in slow motion, and it's just this solid red filter. It's got I think it'll show like her POV of him on top of her, but it's like upside down, and it's very stylish. It stands out throughout the rest of the film, which again is pretty conservatively shot, style-wise, except for some camera tricks. Like, I'm starting to notice now where the only Gialli I've seen by Lenzi was Spasmo and Bloodstained Orchids, but now I've seen those two, Eyeball and Orgasmo, and this. And one thing I'm noticing is Lenzi doesn't like, you know, still cameras. Well, he likes to shoot in like mid close-up or close-up, and if someone does anything, like they're on the phone and they go to set the phone down, the camera follows them hanging up the phone, then comes back up. Likes to shoot through things. Like at one point he shoots through a fence to look at these characters. Or there's a part with Jean and Nicole on like a beach bank, and they see a boat go by, and there's like, not really a cavern, but like a through area of these rocks, and the camera's up behind them. We see the boat go by from the other side. Or like when characters will walk around some sort of obstruction, the camera will go around and then meet them. So he likes a lot of cool camera movements and likes to look through things, especially through glasses. Like if someone's drinking or pouring something, he likes to shoot through the glass. So it feels like it's shot normally, but there are some tricks in there. And also mirrors. If a character's in front of a mirror, he likes to shoot the mirror and get all dialogue and movements from the mirror itself. But him and Nicole begin to get much closer. They fall in love. He contemplates eventually gets to the point where he wants to leave, divorce and leave Danielle for her. She trusts that he can get her away from Klaus. They go on one getaway at the beach, and that's who's on the boat kind of watching him. And it feels like this jealous ex-boyfriend that's going to be following them around throughout the movie. But that's where she tells him the first sort of revelation of the film, which is part of the whole plot. So it is a surprise or a twist, but it's not like a spoiler. And that is, Klaus has been hired to kill Jean, and Nicole was essentially the bait. So she was basically seducing him, but then admits, but through doing that, I've fallen in love with you. So now he's trying to suspect, well, who hired this guy to kill me? And that's where Valmont comes back in, because he goes to another party where he's doing skeet shooting. And the one guy, Valmont, his rifle goes off and just barely grazes Jean's neck. And he says, well, did you mean to do that, or was that an accident? And he even mentions to either Nicole or Danielle, probably Nicole, because I don't think Danielle knows about the killing plot, that, you know, my suspicion is this guy Valmont, because I've been sleeping with his wife. But then it comes to the big cocktail party where they have the stripper, Beryl Cunningham, who takes her butterfly pasties off, and they're playing this game where whoever catches them has to make love in front of everyone. But then they say, no, let's just kiss for 1 minute. Nicole and Jean walk in, she tosses them. They catch them, and they do this very weak, like lips barely touching kiss but then it turns a little passionate. While Beryl Cunningham changes, puts these filters over the lights to make it amber or red or blue. That looks kind of cool. And I guess this really isn't a twist either, but eventually Klaus does catch up to them. There's a big fight between him and Jean. And I like how this was shot because Jean's wearing a white long sleeve shirt and Klaus is wearing a black leather jacket with a white shirt underneath. There's a scuffle. I think they're out on the patio. And they end up behind like some chairs, some obstruction, and it's kind of far away. I really like how it was shot. And we see an arm come up and come down and like it's stabbing someone, but we see the white shirt. And I think it was meant to be like, who's gonna come out from behind there? It was Klaus. So, and that was one shocking thing, was that our lead was actually killed. Like the whole thing was pulled off. I thought the movie was gonna be about, or the mystery was gonna be him trying to solve who's trying to kill him, but the guy succeeded. And I guess that's where I'll end it, even though, and then the rest of the movie is essentially Erica Blanc suffering the guilt and kind of going crazy. And is Jean really dead, or did he get to Klaus first and he's, he was in, is there something else going on? Are people toying with her? But that's the rest of the film. And it's Ernesto Gastaldi, so you're going to get a number of twists from that point on. But, yeah, I was surprised to see that the hit was successful and our lead was killed. But, and of course, it's a pre-Argento Giallo, but I guess this is also what they consider a bridge Giallo, because it is more akin to what Argento would do, like Sweet Body of Deborah, which I'm very excited to check out when that comes in. Similar to Argento in the 60s rather than some other films at the time. Like some other, certainly Orgasmo, but also like Baba's Gialli of the 60s and sort of other ones. But it also has the wrongdoings and bad behavior of rich people in dealing with inheritance and shares of business and life insurance and everything that the ones from the 60s do, but implores more of this murder mystery or murder that could happen, might happen, which it did, that we'll see in post-Argento. So I guess they call this more of a bridge Giallo, because it's like a mixture of both. I might say I liked Orgasmo more, just because, well, I liked the story more. I liked how it had that Baby Jane type, being held captive type story. And I think that one was a little bit more stylish, more so when they were giving her drugs and things got all kaleidoscopy and whatnot. But I still thought this was a very solid Giallo. This was my favorite one that Jean-Louis Trintignant was in. Again, I liked it miles more than Death Laid an Egg. I liked Deadly Sweet, but more so just because of the art house style it went in, how different it is. But he always has this very intense look to him too. He kind of reminds me of like if like Dustin Hoffman was in a Giallo. He's kind of got that intensity to him. But it also, Carol Baker did a great job, which I can't get into more until I get into spoilers. But yeah, I thought this was a very solid Giallo as well, and makes me more excited to get into the rest of this box set. So with that, I'm going to get into spoilers. So when Klaus emerges from behind the patio furniture, showing he was the one that stabbed Jean. That's when the whole facade comes down. And that's when we find out Danielle did hire Klaus to kill Jean. But also that's when Carol Baker's, Nicole's facade for her love of Jean comes down and is kind of doing like the, well, that job's done. Let's get everything ready and cleaned up. And they put Jean's body in his car, make it look like an accident where he burnt up. Which, funny thing is, I don't know if this is how it is in France, but when Danielle goes to the police department to collect his personal effects, which was his wedding ring and his house keys, they make her look at the body, like identify the body. I know at least here, if the body is beyond recognizable, there's no point. In fact, there was another Giallo I saw recently where the person wanted to see the body, but they were like, you don't have to. There's no point. Or maybe it wasn't a Giallo, but there was a film I saw recently where they were like, I want to see the body. They were like, legally you don't have to. The body's beyond recognition. But here they're like, it's the law. You have to look at him. So she does. They don't show the whole thing. They just show like a portion of his side, like where his hand is laying by his side. And what I thought was going to happen was they made a point that his body was beyond recognition, that I thought the twist was going to be that he's not really dead. They just kind of set it up, or that he had another plot with Klaus to get rid of her or them, Nicole and Danielle. Because that's what Gastaldi does very well, is that giving you sort of the obvious, but then subverting those obvious expectations. Because the whole film, I was like, it has to be Danielle. Obviously, Danielle is the one that wants him killed. But what changes is her behavior in the second half of the film, which is she's stricken by guilt. Because there are little hints that she does love him. Because, like, when he's out, she knows he's with a mistress, and it shows her lying in bed crying. And then during the reveal party, I guess, when they find out that he is in a relationship with Nicole, and when he does tell her that he wants a divorce, she is deeply saddened and starts crying. So throughout the rest of the film, she's kind of haunted by guilt and thinks he's not really dead. And that's what I thought the twist was going to be, is that he's not dead. I was like, why would they kill off their lead that early? Especially in such an obvious manner, like by making the mystery be Danielle, but not knowing who hired Klaus and it being Danielle. But no, he's dead throughout the whole movie. But they do go that extra mystery, that extra step, because there's things lying around, like Klaus steals Jean's cigarette holder, which was like this glass case that had Danielle's picture in it. They go to Klaus's house. At one point, they find it, but written on Danielle's picture says, "You will die too." There's another point later on where on her bathroom mirror and lipstick, "You will die too." So she thinks he's coming back for revenge. And it does have kind of like what we would see later on, also written by Gastaldi, like All Colors of the Dark or Mrs. Ward, just like this sort of mental breakdown of this one woman. But then we find out that Carol Baker, Nicole, and Danielle are lovers and accomplices, almost like they hired Klaus. But it also says that she hired Klaus and Nicole, so maybe they fell in love after. But this is where Carol Baker's performance completely shifts from like meek, traumatized woman to really kind of grasping the reins and ruling the rest of the film and the rest of the characters. And, two totally different performances, and she does both very well. I could tell she was a very talented actress just from Orgasmo. So in here, she essentially gets to play two very different characters, or at least one character that's kind of pretending to be meek and traumatized, which that's another thing I think people debate on. Is her trauma and flashback real? Or was it just part of her story to, help, look like she is traumatized and has nothing to do with Klaus now? I think it was real, because the very last scene of the film, which is her on a plane with Klaus fleeing to Brazil, he kind of grabs her arm and she says, "You need to learn to be nice to me, because the way things are now, I'm in control." So I think the whole shift of power changes, or the power of everything shifts from Klaus to Nicole over the course of the film. So she kind of grows into herself. But Nicole is pretty sure that Danielle is going to snap and ruin everything. So there is this great sequence towards the end where she's alone in their hotel room. And it's at night. All the power, I don't know if the power was cut or just there's no lights on. But Danielle is sure that Jean has come back for her. This is when it's written on the mirror, "You will die too." But the way it's shot, like she's just lit by some of the moonlight coming through the windows. It looks like a classic horror film. And then she calls the front desk, which is where Nicole is. Or Nicole is trying to get a hold of her from the front desk. So she comes across someone who is obscured by darkness, but she can see like his hands, which it then cuts to how she saw his hands at the morgue. He's not burnt or anything, but I'm guessing she thinks that looks like his hands. Answers the phone and just kind of holds it up. And that's when she screams like, "I'm sorry, Jean, I'm sorry. I had no choice. They made me do it." And then there's a gunshot. Whoever was there, shoots her. And we're supposed to be like, well, Jean came back. Jean wasn't dead. He knew about the plan. Excuse me. He knew about the plan, and he must have worked with Klaus with more money or whatever to get back at them. But then that's when the obscured person kind of steps into the light, and it's Klaus. Klaus shoots and kills Danielle. The police have nothing to go on, so they rule it as a suicide. And so, but also there's stuff about how Danielle got his inheritance and I think his life insurance, but Nicole got like the shares of his company. So they're talking about just sharing it together. And then, they did stuff together where they can join, where like Danielle signs a lot of her insurance over to Nicole. But basically, by the end, Nicole and Klaus have everything. They have all Danielle and Jean's money and shares and insurance. They're on a plane, and he calls her a genius, and he asks her something, and she has like this newfound confidence, and he like grabs her arm, and that's when she says, "You need to start being nice to me, because there's nothing to tie me to the murders. It's all you. And you were the one that stabbed and burnt up Jean. You were the one that shot Danielle. I wasn't anywhere near any of that. So it's pretty much going to be the word of a suspect versus the word of a woman you once abused. So the power of life is now in my hands." And she says how the inspector suspects nothing. And again, according to this, and maybe it's on the Italian track, that's when he says, quote, "We're going to have a fun time with all that money. I have to hand it to you, dear. You're so diabolical. So sweet, so perverse." Yeah, I don't know if that's also the part where he calls her a genius. I don't think it was, because I think that was in the beginning of the scene. But then the camera pans back to the back of the plane where the inspector is sitting. And Nicole takes out her compact, sees him in the mirror. Klaus knows he's there, and he says, "Hey, basically, there's something he's not happy with, and he's going to follow you forever. And if he gets too close, then you're dead to protect myself." So now she doesn't get to live as happy and rich as she thought. She pretty much has to live in fear, I guess. That's sort of, again, so many twists and turns, even if it's just the emotion of the character. And then ends with the plane taking off. So, yeah, even though I like a lot of other Gastaldi scripts and films penned by Gastaldi more, this was a very solid film with a lot of good twists, a lot of good turns. Again, great acting by everyone. Really getting used to Lenzi's style and just things he likes to do with the camera. It's becoming more evident the more I watch it. I think I noticed it with Orgasmo, but then I really picked it up with this film. So, yeah, glad to finally see So Sweet, So Perverse. I can't believe I thought this. I mean, I haven't watched this yet. I did put it in to look at the very beginning. And it is definitely a bootleg, but yeah, I might not even watch this. I might buy an actual DVD or Blu-ray of Baba Yaga, but yeah, it's silly to think that this was the same film. But, so that was the second collaboration between Lenzi and Baker, and so my next review will be their third, which is A Quiet Place to Kill. Not to be confused with An Ideal Place to Kill, which hopefully that comes in soon as well. But this will be my next review, so stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching. Oh, also, before I go, this is actually my 100th Giallo review. With this review, I have now reviewed 100 Gialli. Legit Gialli, not ones like Suspiria or Blowout and Dress to Kill where people think it is or they think there's a debate, but like legit, no question, official Gialli. I've now reviewed 100. Before I started that 5-month marathon, I'd only done, I think, 16. So I've done 84 since last June, so that's quite a bit. So yeah, stay tuned for the last two of the Lenzi Baker set, which I'm hoping to get to soon. And thank you for watching.